Welcome everyone to Sunshine Ladies Unraveling Tales, where a group of bookish friends take you on our reading journey. We bring you TBR recommendations, exclusive bookish interviews, and event shenanigans. I'm Carrie, and on today's episode, I am joined by Heather, Nikki, Rebecca, Reed, and Steph. Join us today as we chat with our next author, Veronica Lancet. It's so nice to meet you, Veronica. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today.
You too. Thank you so much for the invite.
For anyone not familiar with you or your work already, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing.
Okay, so I write both dark contemporary romance and fantasy. And my fantasy is a bit on kind of like, let's say, grayish area, but then my contemporary romance is very, very dark. So yeah, if you've read any of them, you know, I even have one book that's banned on Amazon because, yeah, well, it's a bit dark.
Wait, which one is that one? Because I'm interested.
It's called Monster in Disguise, and it's available on my website. And once you get to the end of the book, you'll see why it is banned.
That just makes it all the more enticing to read.
Yeah. It is very morally questionable, and I feel like most of my books would fall within the category of like morally questionable, and with characters that have a varying degrees of, let's say, moral dilemmas to them.
Okay.
I started publishing 5 years ago, so this year is going to be my 5-year anniversary. And thank you. And honestly, I don't even know how many books I have, but there's quite a few, including Fairydale.
Yes. Personally, what are you reading and what is some of your top TBR?
Oh my god. So I don't read any dark romance. I mostly read historical romance. And my favorite author, let's say a newer author, instead of, you know, the old body sweepers, because I love those as well, would be Stacey Reed. And I really recommend her to everyone because she's such an amazing author. She has a fantasy series that's not very well known, which I would recommend as well. She just like everything she writes is perfection.
Okay, very good. Anything that you are wanting to read in the near future?
I do have quite a few books that I bought in London for a rare for the book signing. Honestly, I don't know when I'll get to them because I've been so busy recently, but I do have a physical TBR that hopefully I'll get to.
Very good. So when you're writing, how do you balance your morally gray characters with making them still feel redeemable or desirable to the reader?
This is a hard one because I usually don't set out to make them redeemable, in the sense that I feel like it's such a personal relationship with the character for the reader, and for a lot of people it really depends what qualifies as redeemable and what is not. So my usual approach is I will give all of the information, the background, kind of like the motivation, but not in a moralistic way or like you should forgive him because of this and that, but more so like as a reader, do you feel like he is redeemable? Do you think like his actions, even knowing his motivations, are forgivable? So I usually leave it up to the reader to decide whether they are redeemable or not, because even in my opinion, some characters I would not consider them to be necessarily redeemable.
Your books explore intense psychological dynamics. Do you research into trauma, psychology, or criminal behavior when you're writing?
So I did my bachelor's in evolutionary biology. So yeah, so a lot of these kind of like popped up in a lot of my courses, especially when it comes to behavior and with evolutionary behavior and evolutionary psychology as well. But also at the same time, besides the, let's say, scientific side of it, I also try to look at it from like a human perspective, because even if you read something that's like a textbook definition of something, it will not apply to all people. Like there are so many varying degrees of everything out in the world. So I would say that every type of media that I consume kind of like shapes my understanding. So I try to base it on like humans, like observing people in their natural habitat.
Yep, that's cool. That's
Very
unique.
Yeah, I love that. So, Veronica, do you typically plot your stories out in detail, or are you more of a discovery writer?
More of a discovery writer, but also to start the book, I need to know where I'm heading, even though that changes. I just like, I need to have a semblance of organization when I start, even though like, yeah, it's definitely going to end up being completely different at the end. It makes me feel better, you know, I'm not going in blind.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. And what does a typical writing day look like for you?
I don't really have a schedule just because I cannot make myself write. So usually for me, the main phase of writing happens in my brain, where I kind of like think of the story and what I want to write in that particular moment, and everything has to, like, the pieces have to fit. And this can be also logically they have to fit, but also my intuition, where it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that just like clicked, and that's when I can finally write it. Otherwise I get like blocked because something just like doesn't feel right.
But what happens when you're busy and it's not an opportune time to sit down and write? What do you do in the moments like that?
I have my notes app. I just either that, or I bought one of those dictation devices, because usually all of the ideas just come when I go to bed and I try to fall asleep, and then I'm in that state in between where I'm like, should I open my eyes? And then now with the device I can keep my eyes closed, get it, start recording, and I just like record the ideas.
I love
There you go.
That's really great.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, Veronica, we're going to play our first little game. It's going to be FMK. You can choose any of your characters to have a one-night stand, bind yourself to forever, or erase from existence. Who are you choosing?
And this podcast is rated R. Just we can say anything over here.
That's good to know. But I will say this. I feel like if I were to choose any of my male characters to do that with, I feel like it would be a betrayal for the heroine.
Oh, hey, well taken. Anything.
That's fair.
Because, like, even when I read a book, I don't really have book boyfriends, just because I feel like I admire that character and I would like someone like that, but not that person because they already have their heroine. And
I love that.
Very nice.
yeah, and I like them in, you know, in their like a little couple, and I like them because they complement each other. And I feel like with my books as well, I could not imagine like one of the heroes with anyone else.
Right.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of those heroines, how do you go developing such layered anti-heroes and heroines in your books?
It really depends, because a lot of my characters sometimes start out as being secondary characters in one of the book, and I already kind of like, I know whenever I name them and I'm like, oh my god, I love that name, it needs to be a main character at some point in the future. So what happens is that from a name, I already start like thinking of the backstory, and usually that is very much influenced by whatever scene I'm in the middle of writing at the moment, and I just like get sparks of ideas. And after that, it's all about kind of like just like brainstorming a lot and thinking what would they do in this situation, and then the more I kind of like ask questions, the more I sort of like start building around the character and know where they're heading. And this is also why it takes me so long to actually sit down and write, because I need that information first before doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking while you were saying that. It that actually helps all those other characters develop as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because you kind of know if you have the motivation for all of the characters, then you know how the conflicts are going to play out depending on like everyone's desires.
It's great.
Right.
Makes sense.
All right, so between music, movies, books, or any other inspirations, what inspires your writing the most?
Everything except music. I'm not that big of a music fan, to be honest, and I feel like it's blasphemous to say that, but yeah. With books, I do have a lot of periods of time where I just like, I don't have the patience to read, and that's when I just like watch movies or TV shows. But even with, I actually prefer TV shows to movies, because I feel like in movies the duration of a movie is not enough to really tell the full story. But yeah, I have ADHD, so I like to fast forward a lot, so I get the idea.
I agree, though, with the production these days, TV shows kind of are superior to movies.
Yeah, because you get the character arc that you don't get in a movie, and you also get more characters. The plot becomes richer as well. Yeah, I definitely, whenever I'm on Netflix, I look for a series and not movies. I don't even know the last time I watched a movie, to be honest. But I also like a lot of like Asian dramas.
Switching over to some of your work, can you walk us through the inspiration behind Fairydale?
Yes, and this is going to be a little bit weird, just because when I started writing Fairydale, I did not mean for it to be like a gothic romance.
Really?
Okay.
Yes, yes. So because I don't read dark romance and I mostly read like cozy, small town, like like really comfort reads, I was like, oh my god, I want to write something that I usually read. And I was thinking maybe I should do like a small town romance, like a cozy, comforting read with a town that's called Fairydale. Because Fairydale by itself is like a really cute name. You don't really think that there's going to be anything that's like really weird happening there. But then I started the first chapter and I was like, okay, yeah, this is not cute. And, and this is a bit mysterious and I'm sensing here something. And then the next few chapters, more paranormal, more like, gothic, scary vibes. And I'm like, yeah, this is no longer a cozy read.
Right.
Yeah. So with that twist, did you have a character that surprised you the most during that writing process?
Honestly, Mr. Meow,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, because with Mr. Meow, when he first appeared while I was writing it, because typically how I write, I can only write things linearly, so I don't jump from like scene to scene. And as I usually discover the plot as I write it, when I first wrote Mr. Meow, I didn't know who he really was.
Hey.
Oh, they surprised you.
Exactly.
What
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
surprise all us?
Is there a particular couple or scene that was the most challenging or the most fun to write?
In Fairydale, I think for sure when I don't want to spoil this or anything, when they meet again with Lydia, I think that was a very sad scene for me to write because she had just remembered everything and they found her just like waiting for them, and you can imagine how lonely and scared and alone she had been all of those years, but she still like waited for them because she wanted to help them.
Okay.
Right. You have a loyal fan base. What is the most surprising or emotional message that you've received from a reader?
Oh my god. I can say one of them from a recent signing from the one in London, where one of the readers brought me a drawing that their kid had done of the cover of Fairydale, and it was so cute. I know.
Oh, I love that.
That's super sweet. So, switching back to maybe some of your older books, what attracts you to the darker side of romance, and what boundaries, any, you set for yourself while you're writing, and how do you handle writing those heavy topics while still trying to be mindful of your audience?
So I think it's also because of my studies. So I did my master's in crime science and forensics, basically. So a lot of like heavy topics, and my dissertation was on human trafficking. So, and that's actually how my first book, Morally Corrupt, sort of came out of me doing research for my dissertation. So a lot of the things that happened in were kind of like inspired by what I was reading for school. And then later on the same thing happened. So I think in a way I am a bit desensitized just because I can see the reality of what's going on, and because I've studied so much of it. But at the same time, I feel like the more I've written, the more I've begun to kind of like stay away from really like graphic details. Like for example, my darkest ones I would say is the Morally Ambiguous Duet, but that was written in 2021. And then Where I've Scenes series that I finished a couple of years ago, and those are absolutely the darkest. Haven't written anything as dark since then.
And what would you say has changed that for you?
I feel like, I don't know, I wrote one book in the War of Sin series, one book that I ended up unpublishing because it was so dark, and now you can only find it on my website. And just going through that and writing about that, because that series is a bit more of a family saga, and it was following two brothers and how they ended up at each other's throats. And that particular book was about their childhood and growing into adulthood and what shaped them and their enmity. And to be honest, it was so dark and heavy, and it was the hardest thing I've ever written. And since then, I don't know, it's just like been really hard for me to go that dark. I mean, I skirt around the darkness from like an emotional point of view. I can do emotional darkness, I can do graphic torture and graphic murder, but I don't think I can do any more like graphic scenes of essay or something like that.
All right. So recently you went traditional publishing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What has your journey been like through your publishing, and what's the process been from being an indie to a traditionally published?
So this was entirely unexpected. I got an email that the editor had read Fairydale and loved it. And to me, that was the best thing ever, because I would have never sold the rights to anyone who had not read the book. Because I feel like if you don't know what you are getting into, then you're not even going to care too much about it. So I was really, really excited that she had loved it. She wanted it so much. And then we worked together and we're bringing it to a larger audience. So that's really exciting.
Hey,
Congrats.
That's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
I know you mentioned that you like to read like cozy books. What are some tropes that you love to read the most? And are there any that you would like to write that you haven't tackled yet?
I love Secret Baby. Secret Baby yet, but I have the one that's coming in December. It's a gothic dark academia, and it has accidental pregnancy. And I know not many people are fans of, pregnancy in books, and this one is from beginning to end, so it's quite a big chunk of the story. But I do like it.
Yeah, you have some.
Well, you have to love it to write it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly,
there's
yeah.
an audience out there somewhere.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And another trope would be the mistaken identity, and I feel like I always try to use that in some type of way because I love it so much.
So, what's something about being an author that readers might be surprised to learn?
That it's not always just like, schedule. Like you wake up, you have a set time to write, you have a set time to end. Yeah, I think it's not as standardized as people might think, even if you are a professional writer, because every person has their own kind of like routine that works for them. So I feel like it's very personal and very tailored to whatever works for a certain person.
Which book took you the longest to complete?
Ooh, let's see. I mean, since I started school, it's taken me anywhere from like 3, 4, 5 months to complete one book. And I think that's, the
That's good. Wait, yeah, I was gonna say.
Nice job.
How long did it take you from the inspiration for Fairydale to getting it out into publishing?
1 month and a half.
Whoa!
This whole book in a month and a half?
Oh my gosh!
That's crazy.
Oh my god!
That's awesome.
That's the fastest book I've ever written. So the moment I started writing it, it just like consumed my mind. And also this was right before I started school, so I had all the time in the world as well. And I just like wrote it during the summer, and I still remember I released it in August and I started writing it in like end of June.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
Oh my
very
God.
good. And for it to become so loved and popular within, I think a lot of different communities have picked this up. I mean, we're mostly romantasy, and we've all seen this book.
Yeah.
And, it's been on our TBRs. So it's making its way around to a lot of different groups.
Yes, and hopefully now that it's going to be in bookstores, more people are going to see it and try it out.
Yeah. Well, the cover itself is intriguing.
Yeah,
too.
it's very-
When you look at it, you're like, what is that about? It makes you think.
So happy to hear that, just because we had a bit of a bump in the road with the cover, because we tried to get the previous cover, the indie cover. We wanted to preserve that because I know a lot of people love it, but we couldn't do that. So we were like, what are we going to do now?
Right.
What advice would you give to someone who is wanting to start writing for themselves?
Just like put your story out there, and you can just like, for example, when I did not have time to write, I would just write summaries, just write stories, write whatever comes to mind, because you never know when you're going to have the time and you're going to go back to old notes and you're going to be like, oh my god, that's really good. Why don't I just like write an entire book on that?
Love that.
That's a
Yeah, I love that.
really good advice.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with any of your characters and survive it, who would you choose and why?
Not necessarily romantically, just
Yeah.
just
It's a conversation.
I mean, probably with Vlad and Sissy from Morally Ambiguous, although they might
That makes it really interesting.
say, no, I can't be rude, right?
I love that.
Just think of chicken.
And don't ask where it's from.
Exactly. So I know you did say about your Hallmarky type books that you like to read. Is there one book in particular that you like to continually go back to?
I don't reread books just because I tend to remember everything that I read. So I cannot
I have that.
I cannot experience a book the same way because I just like remember the scenes immediately and what's going to come. But I do have, like fond memories of some of the books. And I would say that my favorites to go back to, like, it's not the same story, but they're all in the same kind of like category. It's like Harlequin books. Because, they follow a certain template and you know what you're getting into. So it's the same type of coziness because I know I'm going to get an alpha male, an innocent heroine, some misunderstanding and a little bit of angst. But then he's going to like crawl at her feet and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
We love that part.
We love a good pining.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna play a game of this or that. So I'll give you two and just kind of pick which one you would choose.
Okay.
Cozy cabin or tropical beach?
Cozy cabin.
Background noise or silence?
Silence.
Visual read or audio read?
Visual.
Plotter or pantser?
Answer.
Character growth or plot twist?
Yeah, character growth.
Oh, I was expecting you to say plot twist.
Yeah. I was definitely expecting plot twist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plot twist, guys.
I love my plot twists, but I feel like sometimes more than a plot twist, you kind of like relate to a character and a character can make a much stronger impression on you than a plot twist, which is kind of like sometimes can be just like shocking and you're just like, okay, yeah, it happened.
Fair.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Both, but I'll choose tea just because I'm caffeine sensitive, so I usually drink decaf.
Pen and paper or keyboard?
Keyboard.
But she has her little microphone when she gets her
Yeah.
random.
All right. So hardcover or paperback?
Paperback.
Me too.
Fan art or cosplays?
Fan art.
Okay.
Indie or trad publishing?
Indie.
Indie, okay.
And Halloween or Valentine's Day?
Halloween.
Are you a year-round Halloween girly?
I mean, I don't dress up, but I dress my dog up.
That makes sense.
So we have to think for the costume this year because last year she was a nurse, a pink nurse.
Oh,
so
my
cute.
goodness.
So we'll have to see what she's going to be this year. Of course, she doesn't like it more than 5 seconds, but it's enough for me to snap a picture and be like, okay.
All right. So, what do you hope readers take away from your stories?
I think it's a bit too broad just because for every story it's a bit different. But for Fairydale, I think mostly I would like them to take away the plight of Eamon and how people treated him because they did not know who or what he was and they were afraid of him. So because of that, they made up all of these stories. And I think that mirrors a lot of like history and what happens today in the world. So, when you find someone that's not like you, doesn't look like you don't know what they're capable of. So you just like make up stories about them.
That's true.
Yeah, very true.
Can you maybe tease what you're going to be working on next?
Yes, I have a book coming in December. It's going to be another gothic. It's the accidental pregnancy one.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a bit darker than Fairydale, to be honest. Yeah, another very thick one.
Yeah.
Another thick one.
yeah.
Okay.
Where can listeners find you and connect with your work?
So I'm mostly on Instagram, so at author Veronica Lancet on Instagram. And if you want to join my Facebook group, VL's Moral Dilemma.
Okay.
Oh, very cool.
Right. Thank you so much for chatting with us today and giving us some insight into all things Veronica. See you in the next episode. Bye.